Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Fantastic. Hi, welcome, and thanks for coming along to this talk this afternoon. On the programme, it was David Morris, the head of the Regional and Networks team, who was presenting today. But unfortunately, David couldn't make it. But I am in David's team, and I can answer any questions that you have at the end, so it shouldn't affect anything this afternoon. So just a little bit about the National Archives, as I know that a lot of you in the audience may not be that familiar with us. So we are a non-ministerial government department, and we are the official archive and official publisher of the UK government for England and Wales. The National Archives is the guardian of over 1,000 years worth of iconic documents, which span over 12 million records, and we're based at Kew. These records include the Domesday Book, Shakespeare's Will, and more modern records such as tweets coming out of Downing Street. And it's our responsibility to make sure that those records are all preserved, no matter what format and no matter when they were produced. So TNA are a cultural, an academic and a heritage institution. As I say, we're based at Kew. We're free for anyone to use. We're open to the public, and we also have exhibitions that are, they change, once, twice, 3 times a year. Our current exhibition is very, very popular, and it's on spies, and it was in collaboration with MI5. Yep. So as I've said, TNA is seen as the expert advisors on information and records management, but we also fulfil a leadership role to the wider archive sector, and that's why I'm here today. So some people think of the National Archives and they think public records, that's what you're interested in. And if there's one thing to take away today, it's like we are not just interested in public records institutions. We will support any institution that holds archive collections. We'll support any individuals that have got archive collections as well. These can be museums, these can be local authority archives, it can be charities, religious archives, community archives, you name it, we're there to support anyone that holds collections. We will also support people who are trying to create an archive. So maybe they are collecting oral histories. That's an archive. We will support them in making that accessible and preserving for the future. So there's lots of different ways that TNA support the archive sector. On a high level, we are advocating for the sector to government, to funders, to other stakeholders and institutions, and we'll try and communicate news from the government, from funders to the wider archive sector. We also work in partnership with lots of organisations, many of whom are in the room today. These include Arts Council England, Local Government Association, the Archives and Records Association as well, which is our professional body for archives. A really effective way that we can support archives is through developing and participating in networks. An example of that would be the Higher Education Network, which we will run events for, we'll develop training, or the Community Archives and Heritage Group Network. TNA support community archives via that network. Also through major archive projects. So many of you may be struggling with a capital development and wondering what to do with all your boxes of archives. We're there, we can help with that, and we have a network where people can share ideas and skills to do that. We hope that we listen to the sector as well, and we respond by producing new guidance, new training, based on what you're telling us is what you need. We do help services uphold relevant legislation such as the Public Records Act, but also to maintain things like archive accreditation. Now, if anyone wants to know more about archive accreditation, we are on the stall today, X13. We've got staff over there that can talk to you about that. So really what we're trying to do is help archives achieve the best standards that they can to look after their archive collections. As well as that, we also support new routes into the sector, and one way is through the Level 7 apprenticeship scheme. This was a way of trying to diversify, bring new perspectives into the archive world to try and make our profession robust for the future. It's been successful, but we always need more hosts, more people to be able to host these apprenticeships. We carry out research to support archives, and there's two ways that we can do this. We ask every year that if you hold an archive collection, if you've got collections, that you tell us what you've taken in each year. It's called an accession return. And we were like, tell us what you've taken, and we collect that data from the whole of England and Wales so that we can see what pictures are emerging, what's been collected, more importantly, what isn't being collected. We also do a UK archive survey across the sector as well, again to gauge the landscape, to look for trends, to look where we can be supporting best. Some of the team also do sales monitoring. So if they see that the collections are at risk, maybe being exported, broken up, dispersed, you can come to us. We've got members of our team who will help with that and try and save those records. We also provide advice on archival cases that are submitted to the cultural property schemes run by the Arts Council. An example of this would be acceptance in lieu. Sometimes those schemes are used, we see it as a way of making those collections accessible to the public, which might otherwise not be accessible. So we will try and advocate that these collections are open to the public as much as possible. I know a lot of you will be in the audience wanting to hear about what funds and sort of grant schemes we offer, and Deborah, who's up next after me, is going to talk a lot more about funding. Again, stall X13, we've got staff that can talk to you about your applications. So who are we? If you wanted to get in touch, we are a small team that work across each of the English regions. We're all based across the country. None of us, we've got 2 sector development managers for London, but the rest of us are all over the place. All the names are on the screen, and the email addresses are on the website. So if you want to contact your sector development manager, all of the emails are there. You'll notice that each of us has like a specialist area that we focus on. For mine, it's community archives. For others, it would be business or charities, or, it's on the screen. But if you've got a collection that is based around like a religious archive or a charity archive, you might want to get in touch with that person individually as well. So as I say, please do get in touch with us. We are there to help you. That's what our role is. Find our details on the website, and I'm going to hand over to Deborah, who's going to talk about funding. Thank you.
Andrew.
Sorry. Can you hear me? I've got a little tiny mic. It is fulfilling a lot of my dreams to be a stage singer, so I promise I won't sing to you today. My name's James. I'm a sneaky addition to the presentation. I'm the head of archive sector funding at the National Archives. Deborah will be doing much of the talking today, but I'm here really to speak about a few of the other grants we offer. So to introduce our funding, what we do is we provide money to the archive sector in the form of grant making. So the sector, which we know is full of possibility and potential, can fund their work, fund their important work. And what we've done is we've tried to design a grant program that really speaks to the needs of the archive sector. We've thought about what it is, what do archives do, what are archives? They're collections of incredibly important, unique records, but often they're in boxes, sat on shelves. No one knows what's in them, and no one knows how to use them and let people engage with and learn from the collections we have. So we've really framed our grant making around 3 different ideas. First one is kind of access to the record, making sure the records are preserved, looked after, and that the services that manage the records are resilient now and in the future. Then we have risk and resilience, so managing the risk of collections and building that resilience in the sector. I should have said with access to the record, we also do a lot of work and provide a lot of funding for getting the collections out of boxes, knowing what's in the collection, and so that it can be engaged with. And then finally, we want to build your skills as archivists and as people working with archive collections. So the last grants that we offer are all around that, working with the collections, building your own skills and capacity, and creating opportunities to learn and develop. Our biggest funding program is a program called Archives Revealed, which I am very happy to say I work with Deborah on delivering. And I'll pass over to Deborah to introduce that program.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I can't hear myself now, so it's a little bit peculiar. So before I speak about the specific grant programs, I want to talk to you about eligibility, and I think that's probably the main thing that we get asked from our applicants is, am I eligible for funding? And I would hazard a guess is that most of you are eligible for funding. All of our grants are available to UK-wide applicants, apart from skills bursaries and research and innovation grants, and they are for England and Wales applicants. It's usually organisations that are working with an archive collection, but that could be a museum, could be a gallery, could be a business. It's where you have material that is as an archive collection. It can even be objects, it could be photographs. So I think if you are sort of wondering whether your collection is eligible, just do get in touch with us and we can talk to you about what grant we could offer you for your type of collection. The collection does have to be publicly accessible. But don't worry, if your collection isn't already publicly accessible, if you have intention to make it accessible to the public, freely accessible that is, you are eligible for funding. So again, do contact us and talk to us if you have any questions about whether your collection is publicly accessible. And your organisation should have the support from a professional archivist. And we want to stress that we are looking for ensuring that standards are met across the archive sector, and we want to support those standards. And it's how, but please again, speak to us and we can explain that further, and we can talk to you about if you need to put in the place systems, or if we can direct you to our sector leadership team who can advise you on ways that you can make your service have that archivist professional support. So, Archives Revealed is one of our main funding projects, and it is a £6 million project in partnership with the National Archives, where we're based, but it's also a partnership with the National Lottery Heritage Fund, Wolfson Foundation and Pilgrim Trust. And the funding is from all of those partners, and it's us in Archives Revealed that are giving those grants to the sector. The programme's purpose is to ensure that significant archive collections representing the lives and perspectives of all people across the UK are made accessible to the public for research and enjoyment. We have 150 grants to distribute between. I say it says now, but we've already started our programme, so it's until March 2027. So if you go onto our website, we have all the dates for when our funding rounds are open, and you'll see in that period of when you are able to apply to our different grant options. And that leads me to the different grant options within Archives Revealed. So we have a scoping grant, and the scoping grant is for a £3,000 for a expert archivist, consultant, heritage professional to come to your organisation and to look through and to assess a collection that you have. And it's most likely a collection that perhaps you have had deposited with you, or you've taken in, or you've and you don't know what's in that collection. It may be that the boxes haven't been opened, or it may be that you have rescued that collection from a dusty attic space, or and you don't know what the condition is of the collection. You don't know what it contains. You don't know what you need to do to preserve that collection. You don't know if it has any GDPR things attached to it. So for the scoping grant, the consultant will come in for 3 days and review your collection, and they will produce a report at the end of it, and that report will give you advice on how you can use that collection, what is needed for that collection, what are your next steps to do to either ensure that collection is preserved, or to how you might want to go about cataloguing it, if there are any digitisation needs. And that is what that report will do. But it's really for you, that report, and so you can guide that report from your own organisational aims and goals. You can offer that you can sort of direct it in that way. The next deadline for our scoping grants is the 12th of June, so if you are looking to apply to us, you have got a few more weeks for this round, but we will be running that grant at several points throughout the year, so please go to our website and have a look at when the next scoping grant will be available. The next grant is the cataloguing grant, and that is for it's for £50,000. And that is basically what it says on the tin. It's to catalogue a collection. It may be just a small part of your collection, or it may be a whole of a collection that you have. 20% of that funding is allocated for engagement, and that's sort of engagement and with your audiences. But the aims of the grant are to increase access to previously unavailable archive material, increase engagement with archive collections to a wider audience, enable deeper use of the archive material to further understanding of the collections, and to increase confidence and skills of an archivist either at your organisation or one that you have recruited into your organisation. And it may be that you are, through that process, you're upskilling staff who are already there. It might be that you're upskilling volunteers, and that may be part of your engagement activities. There are 15 cataloguing grants available each year, and we have already allocated 12 of them already.
12, there are 30 a year.
Oh, 30
this
a year.
Is a deliberate mistake
Oh.
in our notes.
It's 15 each round, it should
Yes.
say. And then the third one on here is a consortium grant, and it's for funding of £150,000, and it is basically in the same vein as a cataloguing grant, but it's about working in a consortium, in a partnership, in a network with other archives or heritage organisations or other types of organisations that you are seeing some kind of benefit of working with. It may be someone who can deliver some kind of engagement work for you. It might be you might be in a local authority, and it might be all the different sort of the partnerships that are around you within your community. Again, the same sort of principle is to ensure that significant archives, collections are representing the lives of the public are made available. And again, there should be 20% of that 150,000 that is allocated for public engagement. Because of the size of this grant, we offer 2 to 3 per year, so it's usually around 1 or 2 each round. What we do recommend is, if you are thinking about a consortium grant, is that you do have a conversation with us prior to applying, because we just want to make sure that if you are putting your time into filling in an application, that this is the right grant for you. It may be that you are looking actually for a cataloguing grant and you're just working in partnership with people, but a consortium grant is quite a particular large grant. And so our assessment criteria for our grants is very similar to what you might have been looking at in a museum. If you're looking at objects in terms of like significance, it's also around the need to catalogue. So what is the need to catalogue now? The impact. Innovation, where it's an innovation, we are thinking about your audience engagement activities and the impact that you might have on your organisation from cataloguing this collection, or what impact it might have for your community. And we're also looking at your cataloguing approach and delivery and management. So thinking about like the significance, what we're looking for is similar as if you are familiar with the Waverley criteria. So we're looking at things like, what's the provenance? Is your collection rare? Is it unique in any way? What is the condition of it? Is it a complete record? Is it in good condition? Is it in need of preservation? What is the cultural and historical and scientific meaning of your collection? I think that's one that most of our applicants are familiar with and comfortable with responding to. So that's looking about what impact would your collection have on perhaps research, on engaging with the local community, on uncovering some kind of new story about a particular subject matter. We're also looking at like your sensory and emotional impact of the collection. Will it offer something that will stir up feelings in your community, and with your audiences, with researchers, with what's the impact of that? And then finally, marketing of the and it says exploitability, but I'm not.
Exploitability is
It's an interesting word there. It's enterprise is what we really are thinking about. Is that how would you use that collection to perhaps fulfil some goals of your organisation? We say that we want to support collections that are freely available, and we want to make sure that that audiences can come in and the public can come in and access those collections, or they can access them online. But it doesn't stop you from using that material once it's been catalogued for innovation at your organisation. Maybe you want to print out a mug with a photograph on it and sell it in your shop. And that's the kind of, we're looking at those different things that you might want to do. Just to sort of like touch upon the audience engagement element of it, it's relatively new to this program. This program has been running for quite some time. And what we're looking for in that section is we're looking at do you understand who your audiences are and how we will engage new audiences? Who are the members of the public and the wider audiences that don't access the material that's in your collection, and you want to bring them into the archive and so that they can enjoy the material and perhaps fulfill some of their own education or research goals. And part of that is having some kind of engagement activities, and the engagement activities don't need to be at the end we'll have we'll have an exhibition or we'll have a display. It could be engaging with your audiences through the process of cataloguing. So it could be that you are having a community group that is part of that steer of your cataloguing project. They could be feeding into the interpretation of the material. They could be, you could have volunteers that are sorting through the material and helping you identify, perhaps in photographs, people that are in there if it is like a community project. So it's the engagement element of the this grant, and we're saying it's like 20% of your allocation, but it's not necessarily something that you need to produce at the end. It can be part, and it should really be incorporated throughout the project. And then I will pass over to James to talk to you about risk.
Thank you. So I'm just going to run through very briefly our other 5 grants. Like Deborah said, we have a team at the National Archives who help work with me and Deborah to deliver our grants. If you do have any questions, there'll be some time at the end, but really encourage you to get in contact with us. So just a brief kind of whistle-stop tour of the other grants we offer. We offer a Records at Risk grant. Now, I always kind of describe this as you go into your storeroom and you find there's a big hole in the roof and rain's come in, mold's got on your records, and you need to save them now and immediately. What we're really looking for in that program is records that are at risk of imminent peril, loss, damage, etc. We want to save and protect the record before we can do anything else with it. We make no distinction in any of our grants between physical records and digital records. So we would also consider things like we need to implement our digital asset management policy. We've got old recordings on tapes that we can no longer read. We need to transfer them into another format. So any type of archive, be it physical or digital, eligible for all of our funding. Records at Risk is open all year round. If you apply, we'll try and give you a decision about a month from when you apply, depending on when in the month you apply. And we offer up to £5,000 for that grant. We also want to build the resilience. A lot of our grants are, as Deborah says, does what they say on the tin. We want to build the resilience of the archive sector. We know the archive sector's full of wonderful ideas, wonderful people, but it is under a lot of pressure financially, etc. at the moment. We would like to create a strong and resilient sector now and in the future, and so we offer what we call a resilience grant. Really, that's our most open stream of funding. We want to hear what it is you need, and we want you to convince us why that's important for us to fund. That one runs twice a year, and we offer up to £20,000 for resilience projects. We also have 3 grants programs designed to build your skill as archivists and people working with archive collections. They are 3 different grants. Again, most do what they say on the tin. We offer skills bursaries up to £1,000 to access any trainings, career development opportunities that your organisation doesn't fund as standard. So we've done things like photography courses, digital skills courses, Latin reading, which I can never pronounce the proper word for, forgive me, but attendance at conferences. We've done a lot of different funding for skills and development for archivists and people working in the sector there. Again, a rolling program, knowing that opportunities come up regularly. So if you apply at any time, we'll try and give you a decision in about a month from receiving your application. We offer research and innovation grants. Now, these can be kind of scary words, big words, research and innovation. They're not at all. What we mean by that is you come up with a problem, you think of a solution, and we give you some money to try that solution out. That is what research is. We don't care if you succeed or fail. What we want to know is about your experiences. What have you learned from doing it? Did your project work? Wonderful. We'll learn from you and we'll share that with the sector. Did it have some challenges? Fine, we'll learn from you. We'll share those challenges with the sector. That's really what that project's about, or the program's about. That runs once a year, normally to link to the academic calendar. So around September time, those grants will open again this year. And then finally, we offer engagement grants. They're really designed to get people to come to your archive or to see your archive materials in different settings, but opportunities to engage with your existing audiences and new audiences. What we really want is archives to be live, active places where people can come, enjoy the records, learn from the records. Archives are so important in the sense of transparency, accountability, learning, family history, all of those different areas archives can offer. We want people to come, work with your collection, and we offer £3,000 for those grants, normally run once or twice a year. We don't have specific dates for them because often they're in response to big public events. So we've done the NHS's 75th birthday, the VE and VJ Day this year's anniversaries. Often we'll try and link our engagement funding to a specific national event. And that's our grants and funding. Thank you.
Okay, can we hear it for the speakers, please?
No. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions? Any questions, any observations, anything anyone wants to say? Yeah, hands up. Put the mic up really close.
I can hear.
Hi there. I'd like to know a bit more about that Level 7 apprenticeship. How do I find out a bit more about it?
Yeah, probably without taking up too much time, it's probably easier to take that question over at the stand X13, because actually the person that's leading on the apprenticeship should be over there. Yeah.
Okay, that one was disposed of there, wasn't it? Someone else can answer that. Any other questions or observations or anything anyone wants to know? Because we had a lot of schemes. No? Okay.